Just making sure we're live. Okay, sorry. We're definitely live now.
Okay.
Sorry about that. And welcome to Fight Thoughts with me and Josh from the Good Boxing Podcast. And today we're going to be talking about April's pretty stacked lineup of fights. And yeah, really looking forward to it. And yeah, I guess we'll just get right into it. Might as well. There's a lot of fights to cover. And this weekend we've got Triple G versus Murata in Japan. And yeah, I guess we'll just start off with that fight first. And yeah, we've obviously Triple G and Murata have been out of action for quite a bit, I guess. Triple G's almost like 2 years, isn't he, Josh? But and even Murata, I think he's like 3 years. Last time he fought was 2019. So yeah, I don't really know. Like going into it, you kind of expect Triple G to kind of maybe win this fight, but you just don't know what's going to happen. How do you kind of see this going down at the weekend, Josh? Like personally, I'm going Triple G right from the off. There's no point. I think most people will do that, but it will be interesting to see how he'll actually, if he's rusty or if he's gonna be an old man, I guess, you know.
Yeah, so Triple G has been an enigma for a while, right? He hasn't really fought anyone of substance since he fought Sergey Derevchenko. And as you remember, when he fought Derevchenko, he suffered. A lot of people felt like Derevchenko won, and the Jonathan Banks experiment seemed to be going haywire. Now, Triple G under Abel Sanchez was his best, right?
Yeah.
You saw him fight two really good and competitive fights with Canelo. Some people thought he won the first one. I actually thought he won the first one too. The second one, I was kind of one of the minority that thought that Triple G won the fight. But Canelo, if you gave it to Canelo, I wouldn't be too mad at you because he was pushing the action, really making the fight Mexican style the way they wanted it to.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
After those fights, and after he got that really, really big payday from DAZN, poor Triple G hasn't been able to get a fight. And I remember him waiting, constantly wanting to fight trying to fight Canelo over and over. They were trying to make a big fight happen, but it seemed to just fall to the wayside. Now we're how many years later, and he's still asking for a Canelo fight. And then you thought Triple G would catch a break, and he fought Murata. Postponements, etc. And now we have this fight. I personally think Triple G, like you said, is going to destroy Murata. Murata is, I'm sorry, like I watched some of his film, and Murata is a very, in my opinion, straight up basic kind of fighter. He does have power. He is tough. I've seen him in some really good fights. If anyone out there saw him fight Grant or Brand, I think it's
Brand,
or
yeah,
Grant.
Brand, yeah.
Brand. What a good fight, honestly. Such a good fight. I watched that, and it was a really, really good fight. But Triple G, better boxer, more power. I think he's going to go back to his old ways, in my opinion. I think Banks has to kind of just lean into his strengths, and that's his power, his great chin, and just walking people down, cutting the ring off, putting pressure.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think just that you mentioned around Banks, you know, obviously since he moved to him, I always thought it was quite a strange link up. Obviously, you know, he had the connections with like Klitschko, and you can maybe kind of see some like similarities in terms of how he can maybe utilize some of the things he learned from when he was working with Klitschko with Golovkin. But yeah, it just doesn't, I don't know. There's just something with that training relationship. I can't, I just thought there would be a better trainer. I'm not saying Jonathan Banks a bad trainer. I just think it's, you know, he, like you said, it's with Abel Sanchez. It was just that Mexican style through and through, pressure, cutting off the ring, setting up those power shots, and then Jonathan Banks. You know, just a completely different culture in terms of his training and but regardless of that, I think it should be a fun fight. Murata, he's your typical Japanese fighter as well. He likes to come forward, he likes to put the pressure, try and set up some big shots. So I think it could be a really fun fight. And I don't know if you saw that video I did recently. It was Golovkin had an interview with really bizarre. It's like one of the Foo Fighters, Josh. I don't know if you saw it.
No, I haven't.
He's like on his podcast, so they must be like friends or something. And Golovkin was like saying in the interview with him, he was like that he's like, I think it could be like an interesting fight, as in like we've both been out the ring for quite a while. He doesn't really know what's going to happen, even himself. Like, and he's like, I think he turns 40 like the next day after the fight. So there must be, I don't think he has doubt, but you just never know. I don't know.
He's trying to sell tickets, man. Come on. You know he's gonna kill this guy.
I'm just wanting a competitive
unless
fight.
He tries to be a boxer. I mean, Jonathan Banks is trying to show him some cute little stuff, but Triple G is just, how do you teach someone who's 40 how to start to move and use angles and take less punishment? I mean, his defense wasn't that bad before.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just kind of took me aback when he left Abel Sanchez after his biggest payday just to go and do whatever he decided to do and change camps. So
yeah, it's a real strange one, but it'll be like, I think I remember watching one of your podcasts, and you were just saying about how this is the big payday for Golovkin. He's only really had maybe 3 big paydays, maybe the Jacobs and then the 2 Canelo fights, and that's it. And then this is the next big, maybe final payday, unless if the trilogy doesn't go through with Canelo. This could be the last big payday for Golovkin. So
if I'm not mistaken, this is bigger than the Canelo fight, right? He's making like 45 million or 50 million almost.
Yeah, I didn't realize it was more than the Canelo fight. No, but
yeah, they well, maybe it's less because they changed the date. Like originally he was going to fight on the New Year's day kind of card, but yeah, it was some ridiculous amount of money where they were paying him 45 or 50 million for the fight.
Yeah, that's crazy. But fair play to him. He's earned it, I guess. But maybe it'll be a real easy night for him in Japan. You have a great time over there. Quick knockout. Hopefully. Or could, against the, what's his name, where he had a tough night in New York, Deverchenko? Is that how you say his name? Deverchenko. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's based in New York, is he not? Yeah. I think so.
That was a rough
that was a rough, but he was very ill that night, so it's a bit of a different, I'm sure he'll be fine going into this, but I always remember hearing about he was actually he was not well in the lead up to that fight.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was really unwell. But maybe that's an excuse. That could just be bullshit at the end of the day. But yeah, I guess you guys can probably tell what me and Josh think is going to happen with that fight. But we've also
know anyone who's rocking with Murata.
Yeah, I don't. The whole Japan maybe, but.
And I like underdogs too. I will not go against Triple G. Not in this one.
This is the one you'll probably lose, imagine.
Yeah, no. I'm a jinx.
Yeah. And then we've also got Ryan Garcia fighting against he's from Ghana, Tagoe. I've only seen him fight once, I think. Mm-hmm. And obviously Ryan Garcia has changed trainers and he's now with what's his name again?
Joe Goosen.
Joe Goosen, yes. Quite obviously, I guess you can maybe call it controversial in terms of the split with Team Canelo, but I don't I think it's maybe a right move. I think Canelo owns that gym. Everyone follows him by example, and at the end of the day, Ryan Garcia is a star, and maybe he needs his own place. Yeah, he would have learned a lot off that, like from Eddie Reynoso, Canelo, and the other fighters in that gym. But maybe this change for Joe Goosen will be a good, stepping stone just to kind of maybe get that confidence back and that kind of stardom back as well. That's what I think. Like, obviously, it might be a complete disaster. I highly expect him to get a knockout at the weekend. I'd be shocked if he, lost. Maybe he might be a bit rusty. I think he's been out the ring, just like, is it a year and a half now?
Yeah.
So yeah, I expect him to win. I don't know. What do you think about the move to Joe Goosen? And do you think he's going to win at the weekend?
I'm going to be honest with you. In this fight, I think it's a lot more interesting than I originally thought, right? Because whenever you change trainers, tactically, you have to adjust. You have to adjust your mindset because you're coming out of one of the biggest camps in the world, right? The Canelo team, everyone knows, like, hey, Canelo's the best in the world, number one pound for pound. The list goes on, right? However, one thing I will say, and I don't think a lot of people have highlighted this, right?
Yeah.
When you go somewhere, the Canelo team, for the most part, primarily speaks Spanish. Ryan Garcia doesn't speak Spanish. So right off the jump and right off the beginning of the whole thing, how do you communicate with a team? How do you get the nuances if someone's constantly translating to you, right? Like, his dad is a part of the team, and his dad is, a major part of the whole thing. But at the end of the day, like, knowing, as I told you before, like, I'm a trainer myself, and, not of their level, of course, but when you're communicating with someone, instructions are very personal. You can't, like, if I tell someone, hey, do this, and then they relay it to someone in another language, they may not say it exactly the way I want to say it.
Yeah.
And then when you're in the camp, how could him and Canelo really be that close if Canelo speaks better English, but it's hard to lose that language barrier? And I feel like Ryan Garcia, at the end of the day, with Oscar Valdez and all these guys, you see that there's a community, but maybe he just never felt like it was home, right? Because at the end of the day, you have a rough day. Canelo could always tell you, hey, just work harder, no one cares. And then, and eventually you just have to, deal with it. It's Canelo. Like, who am I? And I think you're right. He is a star, potentially, right? He has to still earn the stardom. I mean, skill-wise, he has it all. If you really look at it, speed, power. If you want to talk about monetarily and, like, draw, he has all that. Social media. But the public still hasn't anointed Ryan Garcia a star until he's done something. I thought after the Luke Campbell fight, more people would kind of just, like, leave him alone. But then when he did this whole, like, hiatus and, hey, I'm fighting Manny Pacquiao, and that like, whatever that was, just was a detriment. But one thing that I did recently kind of recollect was Joe Goosen had a fighter that was very similar in stature to Ryan Garcia, and that was Diego Corrales. Corrales was a tall, lengthy power puncher that, when you look back, in the beginning, he was a prudent kind of guy that would stalk you. And then under Joe Goosen, he learned how to fight on the inside, and he had that really, really good left hook, right?
Yeah.
Ryan Garcia has a great left hook. Joe Goosen's going to teach him how to make that left hook even better. And I think he's better suited for a taller, more lengthy fighter. Because for me, Ryan Garcia, very fast, can box in the back foot, but he has that problem where he picks his chin up and can be susceptible. That's how Luke Campbell called him. He called him leaning back.
That's right.
And I think Joe Goosen is going to really highlight that inside game where if you can keep someone on the outside long enough, he wins that 9 times out of 10. But if you bring him on the inside, someone who's tricky can catch him over the top or maybe catch him with a body shot or something like that. But if Joe Goosen can highlight that and teach the kid how to box on the inside, being that long and tall fighter, I think the sky's the limit for Ryan Garcia, truthfully.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think I'm just really interested to see, him under a different coach now. And yeah, that left hook, it's like, it's weird. You can tell with like the whole Team Canelo style, it's all about applying pressure on the opponent. And that just isn't Ryan Garcia for me. It's just not his style. And yeah, I think it's definitely the right move, in my opinion. I think it's a smart move as well. I don't like, that's quite interesting what you're saying about Corrales. That's a really good example of how Joe Goosen using maybe a similar kind of attributes in terms of the fighters, the height and all that, and using that left hook and fighting on the inside. That's definitely an area Garcia needs to improve on, no doubt. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see how he gets on. I'm probably expecting a knockout from him, make a statement, but I could be wrong. He might be rusty. Might look terrible. But
just a tidbit too that's kind of random, but Tagoe, sorry, trains with the same trainer that trains Gambosis. So
oh wow,
yeah, that might be an X factor. Javier Centeno is a really good trainer at a Sweatbox gym in Florida, and hey man, he might be the first guy to beat every single one of the 4 kings, because he beat Tito already with Gambosis. If Tagoe gets it done versus Ryan Garcia, right, that'll be 2. Then if Gambosis beats Devin Haney when they fight, he might have beaten all 4 of them. I mean, then you get Loma and Loma or Tank. The guy might actually pull it off. So
he's just slowly ticking through each one, Josh. That's his plan.
that would be very, very, very impressive.
Yeah, like I said, like I'm not watched enough of Tagoe, and I'm sure he must be a good fighter, but yeah, I just expect Ryan to get the win.
Yeah, I expect that too. I think he's gonna probably win, but sometimes you got to speculate, like
yeah, you have to exactly. He's got if he's got the trainer, you never know. He might make it a difficult night. So we'll find out though. Sure. And then the other good fight we got this weekend is Erickson Lubin, and sorry about my Scottish accent, Fundora.
Yeah, that's how I say it too.
Fundora, yeah. Which is that could be a really good fight. Obviously, Erickson Lubin, he's kind of, ever since that loss to Charlo, it could have gone the other way from him. He could have been the star, but he lost in devastating fashion. But he's kind of had to crawl his way back. And this is maybe the fight to do it. However, Fundora he's this huge guy. If you've never seen him before, I don't know. I think he must be about 6'6" maybe, and he's a super welterweight. He's huge, absolutely massive.
I know, it's so impressive, honestly.
And I don't know how long he'll be able to stay down at that weight, but right now it must be very difficult for those guys to face him, getting past his reach. But then you see, when I watch these fights, like other guys fighting him, you're like, you must just think, go for the body, attack the body. But his reach, he just kind of makes it so difficult to get to him. It's bizarre. He's a really bizarre fighter to watch, just because of his height and reach for that weight. What do you think about them both, Josh?
Well, I remember when Erickson Lubin fought Charlo. It was the first time in a while, back when I was at my old gym, Church Street Boxing, I would ask a couple of the guys about Lubin, and everyone just kept telling me, oh man, you got to watch Erickson hammer Lubin. He's so good. He's going to beat Charlo. I'm telling you. I'm like, Charlo? Like, no way. Come on, get out of here. He's not going to beat Charlo.
Yeah.
But when they fought, I saw good things from Lubin, and then eventually he got caught and got knocked out. That could happen to anyone, and I'm not going to hold it against him. But one thing I do give credit to him for is you see him fighting constantly. You see him improving.
Yeah.
And then it wasn't until I saw a sparring clip where Erickson Lubin drops Edgar Berlanga in sparring, like hits him
All
with a
right.
clean
Wow.
shot, drops him, the sparring has to stop. So I was like, oh crap, like Erickson Lubin, I guess he's back. I really hadn't heard much from him. So
Yeah.
when you look at Fundora, he's a very aggressive fighter, very tall. At certain points, he doesn't use his height, right? The way he should. But
Yeah.
for the most part, when you're 6'6", you can get away with a lot. I just don't know how he's going to handle the southpaw versus southpaw matchup, right? Because Lubin is a southpaw,
Yeah.
Fundora is a southpaw as well. And as you saw with Josh Taylor, with
very true. Catterall, yeah.
Yeah, Catterall. Sorry, I just slipped my head for 1 second.
Yeah.
When you fight a lefty versus a lefty, it's a totally different approach. It's a totally different feel. It's a totally different vibe. And when you look back at certain southpaw versus southpaws, Paul Williams versus Sergio Martinez, you had a very tall fighter. Paul Williams was what, like 6'4", 6'5", and
Yeah.
Sergio Martinez was about 5'10", around Erickson Lubin's height. And when you're not used to seeing that angle, I could see Erickson Lubin, who has very good power, looping him over the top and catching the long and tall Fundora coming forward. And the way he knows how to hide that punch, as a southpaw, you're used to seeing the right, but you're not really used to seeing an overhand left the way it's coming. And I think Lubin's going to win the fight, if you want me to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I got Erickson Lubin over Fundora.
Yeah, I'm the same. I think, he's just, you look at them fundamentally, but like Lubin is just a better fighter.
I agree.
And however, you just hope that he's able to handle that reach and the size of Fundora and on the night. But we'll find out on at the weekend. But yeah, I think it's a good matchup. It could be a really good fight. Could potentially go either way. But yeah, I agree with you, Josh. I think Lubin just has enough in the toolbox to get the win. Definitely.
Yeah, because I think he definitely has better sparring too than Fundora is getting.
Yeah. And then the next weekend, I believe it is Ugas versus Spence, or Spence versus Ugas, whatever way you want to put it around, on the 16th of April. Huge fight again. Unification, huge. I know you're a big Ugas fan. You quite like him, Josh, don't you?
Yeah, I'm a big Ugas fan.
And he's not your traditional Cuban fighter, but he's very subtle with his movements. What I've noticed, he's, especially when he's, up close on the inside, he can just be very subtle in terms of just with his upper body movement to dodge punches or use a pivot just to get out of the way quickly. I really like him as a fighter. I think he's just, fundamentally, he's just a very good, it's what you want from your fighter, isn't it? He's a higher guard and good jab. But I think obviously he's going into this fight with Spence, who we know is a good fighter, but he's obviously had lots of issues outside the ring, that horrendous car crash, and then this eye injury in the lead up to that Pacquiao fight. And you wonder how much is this affecting him mentally. And I saw a quote from him the other day where he was basically just saying, like, I'm constantly in pain. I'm sore all the time. Well, like, isn't any fighter, but like, it just sounded like, and he's like, I don't know, like, he's like, I wouldn't keep doing it if I had to, if it wasn't for these things that happened to me, I probably would have maybe quit. Maybe that's kind of what he's maybe suggesting. But do you think there's a chance to get how much of a chance do you think? Because obviously Spence is a huge favorite. I'm probably slightly edging towards Spence. However, I'm kind of just waiting for the night. I'm not like dead certain who's going to win because I don't really know how he is mentally and also physically, like against a top welterweight. Can he actually stand, can he stand there and trade with Ugas and be okay over the 12? Because even against Danny Garcia, I felt at times he had a solid performance. He looked pretty comfortable throughout the whole fight, but he still I don't know. There's obviously the confidence issue of coming back is still there, I feel, and it's not helped that he's been out again for like a year. And Ugas could, this is what an opportunity for him. You could totally, this is the best chance he's got to, take that belt and potentially, I'm not saying he would beat Crawford, but you never know what can happen in boxing. So how do you see the fight going down?
I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. For as much of a fan I am of Ugas, I'm a really big Errol Spence fan. But and this was prior to even Ugas coming up. Like Ugas wasn't even the picture. I remember Spence when he first started. Yeah. I was a really, really big Errol Spence fan, and I'm still a very big Errol Spence fan. The only thing I have to say in this fight, what's making me, I'm going to ride with Errol Spence because I do like him, but this is the first time in a long time that I'm genuinely worried about Errol in a matchup. I think the reason why Ugas can win is, I had said this in one of my videos before, and I think I spoke to you about this too, where Ugas knows how to fight southpaws. It's his favorite thing. I don't think he's ever lost to a southpaw in amateur or professional. When you look at his fights with Ray Robinson, who clearly, the real Ray Robinson isn't Errol Spence.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah,
you have to call a spade, but he is a tall, prototypical lefty who gives you angles, is tricky. And you saw how he did against Josh Kelly, who was a phenom. I mean, Josh Kelly was the next coming of like Jesus when he was coming out. And then, Ray Robinson gave him hell. But then when he fought Manny Pacquiao, and I saw him shut down Pacquiao in a way that not anyone but Eric Morales in the first fight, or like Floyd Mayweather in their fight, shut him down, it kind of made me realize, like, damn, this guy really knows how to fight lefties. So in this fight, it's the first time Errol's fighting someone physically as big as him. They're both the same height. It's the first time I can't say that. Kell Brook was kind of his size, but I don't think Kell Brook is as good as fighting lefties as Ugas is.
Yeah.
Then when you look at experience, Ugas has 146 amateur fights. God knows how many weren't put on the roster, or his record rather. And he believes. Like, the guy literally has been winning. A lot of people thought he beat Sean Porter. I'm one of them. I thought he beat Sean Porter. But running through the roster of people he's been running through with his new trainer, who he's finally getting that chemistry with, I think Ugas has a fair chance, because he has a good right hand, which you need against the southpaw. He's really good at turning with the southpaw. He's good at neutralizing the southpaw by using that stiff arm and like turning with them, pushing the shoulder, knock him off balance like he did to Pacquiao. But the one thing I'm going to say is Errol Spence is a phenomenal boxer. And I think while he has been out, I think in that Danny Garcia fight, I saw he wasn't the same fighter as he used to be. I hear the slurred speech. I don't know if you could tell as well, but like when he speaks, he's very slurred, and he never had that. I don't know if maybe he broke his jaw or whatever's going on. Maybe he lost teeth. I'm not sure. But he's in shape. Like Errol Spence, like he said in the Showtime All Access, would come in big, out of shape. In this camp, apparently he was light, ready to work. And the only reason why I don't think Ugas can beat him is he has one of the best sparring partners possible. Like someone that could actually emulate Ugas in Jermell Charlo. You have Charlo sparring. You have a tall, brooding righty with a good right hand. I don't think Ugas, talent-wise, is better than Charlo. Maybe they're about the same, or even if Ugas is a little better, you still kind of get that archetype of fighter. And I just think Errol Spence is going to figure him out.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really good point about the sparring, Josh. I think the fact that he'll be sparring Charlo, and obviously he's preparing for Castano, his fight with him.
Exactly.
Like that's great sparring for Spence going into this. And I think with Ugas, obviously he's with Ishmael Salas,
And that's
who
my
I
boy
rate.
too. I hate going
Yeah,
against him. Yeah.
yeah, he like I actually like he's amazing. I love him. He was actually in Glasgow for the Josh Taylor fight.
Ah,
He trains. I think he's from Cuba. He was in the Cuban Olympic. He's can't remember his name. He was fighting on the Josh Taylor undercard.
oh, you're talking
Um,
about Robezi Ramirez?
yes, yeah, yeah,
Robezi,
yeah,
okay.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
he's good. That kid is
Yeah.
good.
And yeah, it's just like he's tremendous. Obviously, he's a bit, he's getting a bit older now, but still, like the experience that man has, will help any fighter. Maybe not someone like David Hay, but yeah, you can tell like he will make the adjustments for Ugas to make it, to give him the best possible chance. I always look at like when Linares left Salas, never the same fighter. It was never the same guy. When he had Salas in the corner, it was like he was a different fighter. And yeah, I think for Ugas, I just hope it's a good fight. At the end of the day, I never really like, me anyway, Josh. I don't really like try to pick a side, so to speak. But
Yeah.
if I had to pick someone, I'd probably just edge with Spence, just going off everything. And now that you mentioned that thing about the sparring, that's a really good point. With now that I'll be sparring with like the likes of Charlo, and someone just commented actually, Charlo and Spence have not sparred in years. Is that true? Oh, I don't know.
Mean, they're in the same camp, no?
you would think they would have sparred at some point, considering they've got the same trainer, they've got a fight coming up. Surely they would. You'd think they would, but maybe not. Maybe you're right, man. Could be, but anyway, Joe, how are you calling the fight? Who are you going for?
Oh, I'm riding with Spence. My only fear is I was watching the Mikey Garcia fight again, and Errol Spence completely dominated that fight, right? But
Yeah,
the main reason why I do like watching that fight was Mikey Garcia was way smaller than Errol, but you saw really good things from Mikey in terms of defense.
yeah,
He survived with one of the best punchers at 147. So I give him credit in that point. He didn't get dropped. Sean Porter got dropped, and several other people that have never been really down before got dropped. He survived. There was
yeah,
one round, and I think it was the sixth or the fifth, where Mikey Garcia started landing a lot of right hands when Errol Spence went one way. And I think if someone with a little more power were to land that right hand with the same size, I could see him giving trouble to Spence. I saw Danny Garcia land some right hands in the fight over the top. But again, Errol's so big, I don't think those guys could really
yeah,
impose themselves physically. But I think Errol will get the job done. As much as I want to go for Ugas, truthfully, I think it would be cool to shake it up a little bit, especially with the Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford fight that
yeah.
everyone wants. But
Has to happen. Yeah,
Errol getting that third belt, I think we're going to get the fight. If
yeah.
Errol has 3, Terrence has 1, undisputed is the flavor of 2022. So
And I think it'll also just give Spence that confidence again if he was to win this fight, to be like, okay, I'm going to take on Crawford now. Because if you actually look at their resumes and compare them, you'd have to Spence definitely has the better resume. If you were to compare it if he was to beat Ugas, in my opinion. But yeah, it'll be interesting. Oh, Tino the Great commented back. He said, they don't train together, even though they have the same trainer. Charles trained in Houston with Juan Guzman. They meet up with Derek James a week or two before the fight. Okay, fair enough.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Well, I'm sure they'll bring in some good training sparring partners regardless anyway. Especially around like the Texas area, there must be some other top guys.
Because I saw Ellie Sekback had an interview with Jermell Charlo, and he was talking about how it felt to spar with Spence. So I don't know. I know he does train with John Guzman.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, he trains with Joan Guzman he actually used to be in Gleason's in New York.
All right, cool.
Joan Guzman, and he was a fighter. He was really good. Dominican kid.
Right.
Fantastic.
Well, but awesome. All right.
I still think Jermell Charlo is good at sparring.
Yeah. Bring him in. Well, dangerous sparring. Imagine those two guys sparring all the time. That would not be fun for either. All right. Okay, we'll move on to the next fight, which is Tyson Fury versus Dillian Whyte. Now, obviously, it's been a really weird kind of situation, like with obviously the whole press conference stuff. The fight's not really get promoted. Personally, I think it's a bit disappointing as a fan, I guess. You know, there just doesn't really seem to be a buzz around it as much as it probably should be. I think people will obviously still go to the fight and watch it, and I still think it will be a good fight, but yeah, it's just a shame it's not getting promoted the way it probably should. And in my opinion, I'm kind of like, regardless of all the politics and what's been said, and Dillian Whyte not having to, you know, because what his lawyers are saying, you know, promote yourself. You know what I mean? Like, give yourself the best possible chance to, you know, make a name for yourself, you know, but maybe he doesn't care about that side of it. I don't know, but I just think it's just such a wasted opportunity for him, and it's a real shame. But I don't know if there's like an element of maybe him being thinking that he's going to get in Tyson Fury's head potentially. It's weird. The whole thing's, there's obviously stuff going on in the side that we don't know, but I think obviously it's a huge fight in the UK. There'll be like 180,000, 90,000 fans in Wembley. Huge fight. I would have tried to go down to it, but I'm actually busy that weekend.
Okay.
It's just a shame, but I've always wanted to go to a Wembley fight. I know some people that have gone to like the Joshua fights at Wembley said it was a like amazing atmosphere, but you couldn't see shit because you're like so far away. But but it was all about like just the, you know, to say you were there, I guess. But yeah, it should be a great night. But yeah, what are your thoughts on it, Josh? Like, I'm just assuming I know what you're going to say here, but we'll
yeah,
go ahead.
I think Tyson Fury is going to blow him out. I'm a big Tyson Fury fan. I think Dillian Whyte can outbox him. I don't think Dillian Whyte can outbang him. I wouldn't be surprised if Dillian Whyte did show up for this fight and look great for a couple rounds. I think Dillian Whyte has been dying for this fight. He's been the mandatory for Tyson Fury for what, like 3 years or something like that?
Yeah.
And I think when it comes to all of the extra auxiliary stuff that's been going on, like him not showing up to the press conference, I think he's very hurt with like his split. I think it's like 80-20 for Tyson Fury, but it's not Tyson Fury's fault. You wanted the purse bid, right? Like he wanted the purse bid. He wanted to petition the WBC. He wanted to sue the WBC. Haven't these fighters learned yet? When you go against these promoters and these belt organizations, you're going to get screwed over.
Yeah.
I mean, look what happened with Tio. All the drama, all the stuff. You go against your promoter in Top Rank. You know, now look at him. He has no belts, and and didn't miss out on his biggest payday, was on a big layover or a layoff. Same thing with Dillian Whyte. He took a chance fighting Povetkin, got knocked out, and then came back and did get retribution. But Dillian, it's Tyson Fury's show. He's gonna make the majority and lion's share of the money. Go out there, handle your business, and either shut him up, retire Tyson Fury, or do your job. You got to promote the fight. That's how you make money. So go out there, be the B-side, and I mean, if Devin Haney can do it, Devin Haney's doing it, right?
Yeah, that's true. Very true. That's the thing. Like, he could go out and this is this is the thing. This is boxing. Yes, obviously, like, he's fighting Tyson Fury, but it's not like, the heavyweight game is different. The heavyweights are just different. Like, it is literally one punch for those guys sometimes. And we don't know how is Tyson Fury's chin. Obviously he went through those 3 fights with Wilder. He went down 4 times against Wilder, I believe. He managed to get back up. Crazy. So, there's, Dillian Whyte, make the most of it, man. But, because you'll look like an absolute fool if he loses this fight and gets knocked out. Obviously, he'll still get paid, but
sure.
What was it all for? He missed the opportunity, but it's a shame. I think for me, very much expect Tyson Fury to play up to the show of Wembley, the atmosphere, and I think he'll try and knock him out. At the end, I think he will try and put the pressure on and put it on Dillian Whyte. And we all know Dillian Whyte has a pretty suspect chin, or he does have a suspect chin.
Sorry for interrupting. And the one thing he's like taken away from us is we were expecting the trash talk between Whyte and Fury. That was a main reason why people wanted to see the fight.
Oh yeah.
Dillian Whyte talks all the shit. Tyson Fury talks all of the shit too. That's part of like the fun of this fight. If everyone's quiet and he doesn't show up to press conferences, it's like, what are you doing?
Yeah, I know it's a shame, but like I said, people will still watch it. People will still pay to watch it, even if all we get to see is the fight itself and no interaction between them. They're obviously the weigh-in. They'll have to see each other there, and for some reason I doubt you'll show up to the press, like the fight week press conferences. But people will still watch the fight. I expect Tyson Fury to make a show of it and just put on the pressure. Maybe he'll try and enjoy the Wembley experience. First couple of rounds, he'll take his time, and then similar to the Wilder fight, just step it up. But he can't afford to let Dillian Whyte get into it. At the end, like, Dillian Whyte obviously has a really good left hook, and he actually does have a really good jab. And I think the mistake Dillian Whyte obviously he tries to use his body quite a lot and make it messy, and he's not going to be able to do that against Tyson Fury because Tyson Fury is just so much bigger than him. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Tyson Fury won't be able to handle it, but I just feel like we've seen Tyson Fury in that scenario so many times now, and he's just he's able to handle himself in that situation. And I just feel, Dillian Whyte really needs to use his jab and try and maybe counter Tyson Fury as he's coming in. It's a difficult fight for Dillian Whyte. It really is.
I think you're 100% right.
Yeah.
I don't think he can mess with Tyson Fury trying to walk him down and bully him. That's a bad idea.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not going to work. All right. We've got some questions on the fight as well. So, John Park, I can't believe this will be Fury's last fight. I feel he still has to prove he is the undisputed heavyweight. Yeah, he's kind of said that this might be his last fight, and if it was, fair enough, but I can't see it. I think the money's too big for that Joshua fight, even if there isn't a belt on the line. That's just my opinion. I don't know what you think about that, Josh.
I actually made a video about this like in December, right? Sorry. I made a video about this in December. I don't think financially it makes sense for him to retire, but I also think that Tyson Fury is one of those guys that boxing is something he loves to do. It keeps him out of trouble. But the in between and the waiting game is what really gets him in trouble. So if he beats Dillian Whyte, how long would he have to wait to fight an Anthony Joshua or Usyk? Pretty like it's gonna be a long time.
Yeah,
When is the fight for Joshua Usyk?
it's
They're
still to
saying
be
like
announced. Yeah,
to be announced, right? They're saying it's gonna be in Saudi Arabia probably, right?
yeah.
So he would have to beat Dillian Whyte, wait until that whole thing happens, and then what if a mandatory gets called for one of the other guys? Is Tyson Fury really gonna wait for someone to either take step aside money or then fight in December or next year, January? I don't think so. And truthfully, at this point, who's really gonna beat Tyson Fury? Is Anthony Joshua gonna do it? I don't think so. The fun fight for me, but that's just me being a
Mm-hmm.
boxing fan. I would love to see Usyk versus Tyson Fury just for the sake of can the speed really bother
Yeah,
Tyson Fury? And you saw how Steve Cunningham gave Tyson Fury some issues. I mean, for
yeah,
a while before he got knocked out, sure, but would Usyk be able to pull that off? I don't
yeah,
think so, but from my boxing like brain and boxing perspective, I would love to see it, but I just don't think that's gonna get Tyson Fury out of bed to fight Usyk. I don't know.
yeah. No, I think.
Because Usyk's gonna beat Joshua again, in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah. I'm the same as well. I think. Yeah, it's a difficult one. Like, it kind of it all depends when that Usyk Joshua fight happens,
Mhm,
and the sooner it happens, the better. I think. If it keeps getting delayed because of everything that's going on in Ukraine,
mhm,
oh, yeah, it could never. Either fight might never happen. You never know. And Tyson
true.
Fury, he's probably has built enough of a legacy. People will talk about it for years, but yeah, yeah, it is what it is. But I think let's have a look at the comments for a second. Glenn, nah, that's Tyson talking nonsense as usual. Yeah,
Maybe. I mean,
yeah,
we're not in
maybe
the camp, so I'll just
he
give
he
my opinion.
he does talk a lot of shit. To be fair, so that could be true. Fritz Springer again. Tribute told he says a lot of things. Maybe he said it to sell the fight. It's Tyson's
Possible.
last fight. Yeah. I got to see it. If you understand, yeah, I totally agree with that. Maybe it's just a way to get more to sell. Dillian Whyte isn't helping sell the fight. He's
True.
got Tyson Fury's got to do something.
He's
So
back with his dad too, right? He's training
I,
with John Fury for this fight.
yeah, I think Sugar Hill's come back over
Coming
to the
over.
UK though. I'm
Okay.
pretty
No,
I'm pretty sure,
the
but
last time I just saw him training with John Fury,
yeah,
I haven't seen anything else.
I think he trains with his dad quite a lot.
Okay.
They just they go on runs and like he's just in the gym just to like tag along. I think John Fury's like tries to pick fights with people as well, doesn't he? Like strange
Yeah, that
guy.
guy is a character.
He's nuts. White will be heavy bag. Will be a heavy bag. Yeah, probably, man. Probably. Uh, for some reason, I'm kind of expecting something like that. Uh, uh, drum drummer again. Sorry, drummers against something. Sorry, I can't read the end of it. In general, the heavyweight division negotiating deals are too long to work out and killing interest. Yeah. Oh, boxing as a whole, I think.
I'm just gonna plug in my. I'm here. I'm just plugging in my charger.
All right, cool. Yeah, I think that's just boxing as a whole. Like, there's always these negotiations. Personally, I think recently it's been getting better across boxing, like, across the board. There is some big fights happening. This month is an example of that. So I don't think it's out of the question that, I met maybe like, obviously the whole Joshua Wilder fight could have happened. And even the Tyson Fury Joshua fight could have happened, but it is what it is. You can't. It could be better, but it's not. And we'll move on to the final big weekend of the month, and that is the 30th. And there's two huge fights happening. We'll start off with Valdez versus Shakur Stevenson, which is a great fight. If you haven't checked it out, I've just done a tactical overview video where I kind of go in the tactics, what both guys could do going into the fight. Mm-hmm. And personally, like Oscar Valdez, I was watching quite a lot of him when I was making that vid before I made the video, and I was actually quite impressed with him. I think he had a bad night against Conceição, the Brazilian. I think it was a bad night for him. Obviously, all the drug stuff doesn't help. People were saying nasty things to him the whole week leading up to it.
Poor guy.
Poor guy, eh? But put all the drug stuff to the side. He's actually he's a very talented guy. Yes, at times kind of loops his punches a bit, but I was actually really impressed. I've been really impressed with what I've seen. I think he uses feints really well. He's good with his jab at times. He's got good footwork, and yeah, I don't think he's as bad as maybe people are suggesting just because he's coming up against Shakur Stevenson. Mm-hmm. However, saying all that, I just think, and this is a really simple way to say it, Shakur Stevenson is better. I just think Valdez is made wrong for him. However, he's got good power, and boxing's boxing. He could clip Stevenson if he makes the wrong move. Stevenson's still a young guy. He's still learning. Who's to say that Valdez might be able to get him with one? But going in that last fight against Conceição, I'm not too sure. I think it's a real tough ask. How do you see it going, Josh?
Well, I'm going to agree with you. I think Oscar Valdez is a really good fighter. I think he does have talent. He has a great hook, really good head movement when he's locked in and engaged. I also feel that he did have a bad night versus Conceição. I think the pressure got to him. I think this was the first time in a long time being a part of the Canelo team that the pressure and expectations and the scrutiny was at an all-time high, and I don't think he handled it well. For the exception of Canelo, a lot of these guys in the camp cannot handle that pressure that Canelo's been shouldering since he was young, right? The expectations for Canelo since even at 22, 23, fought Floyd Mayweather. The expectations for Canelo have always been high. Oscar Valdez got his jaw broken, and everyone wrote him off he's pretty good. He's going to get knocked out by Miguel Burchelt. Yeah. And he knocked out Burchelt, and people started anointing him as a great 130-pounder, etc. The only thing, like you said, is Shakur Stevenson is a supreme boxing talent. He's a once-in-a-generation talent. I think he does everything well. He's big for the weight, has power, has slick boxing skills. And to me, his distance management is probably, I would say, who else has really, really good distance right now? I would say like a Tyson Fury if he wants to work behind the jab. You have like a Jamal or Jamel Charlo who can be tall when they want to. But in terms of front hand dominance, Shakur Stevenson is probably, actually, I would say Stephen Fulton's pretty good with the front hand too, and boxing on the back foot. But Shakur Stevenson has the best front hand in the game, in my opinion. That southpaw jab, constantly pawing it, has that beautiful left to the body. And I just don't think, for the exception of maybe catching Shakur with the left hooks to the body, which you clearly see him doing in sparring and in his training, he's just too good for Oscar Valdez. I think Valdez could win a round or two. It may be competitive while they're kind of going through their song and dance, trying to get the flow of the fight going. They may both be tentative, but yeah, Shakur is just good. I mean, even look at the fight with Nakatili, or I always mispronounce his name, the guy that just knocked out Burchell.
Yeah.
Shakur dominated that guy. It was a one-sided fight, and people were like, "Oh, you should have killed that guy." And Shakur said, "Yo, this guy hits hard." And people were like, "Yeah." But he knocked out one of the best guys in the division. I mean, sure, he moved up, but Nakatili moved up too. It wasn't like, he stayed at 135. So Shakur beat a really big 130 pounder.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think it will be a good fight. I think it's whether it's what Valdez needs to stop Shakur fighting his fight, and he definitely has some things in his toolbox to do it. The other thing to mention, Joe, I don't know if you knew this, but he hasn't fought a southpaw in the pros anyway since 2014. And that's another big concern for me. I think that's like, that makes me worried for him. Considering
that's pretty problematic in my opinion.
Yeah,
you're fighting the best southpaw possibly in the game, right?
Yeah, and as an amateur, obviously he was a good amateur. Valdez fought lots of southpaws. Fought Lomachenko at one point in the amateurs when he was fighting for Mexico. So it's not like he's unaware of how a southpaw fights, but that's Shakur's bread and butter. He can, he's been doing that for years. Whereas Shakur, I mean, with Valdez, has he really been fighting that many southpaws since 2014? I'm sure maybe they've brought in sparring partners now and again, but that's a big red flag for me going into this. And I think Shakur is just going to really just pick him apart, really, and counter punch him when he's rushing in. I just can see him get frustrated. He might make it quite competitive in the opening rounds because he's quite quick. Might try and throw a few hooks, get in there quickly, see how Shakur reacts. But yeah, I think not that it'll be an easy night. I could see it going to 12 rounds because Valdez clearly does hit hard. And I could just see Shakur, just fighting off the back foot, doing using his jab, distance management, like you were saying, control the ring. So yeah, I just can't. I find it very hard to see Shakur losing this fight, but that's just me. So comment below if you think Valdez is going to win. I'd love to hear your point.
I think Shakur is going to stop him, honestly.
Yeah.
It's going to be...
I think 12 rounds or a late finish from Shakur.
Two sparrings I want you to watch, and sparring's way different than fights, of course. Watch Ugas versus Shakur Stevenson.
Yeah, I watched that. I did watch it. That was amazing.
He was lighting Ugas up.
Yeah.
Like, I couldn't believe it. And then also Devin Haney versus Shakur is a good sparring too, where they spar in the Mayweather gym. And then lastly, I think Shakur also gets a lot of the same archetype of fighter as Oscar Valdez. When he goes to the Capetillo gym in Vegas, you have the Vargas boys, Amato, Emiliano, and Fernando Vargas Jr.
Yeah.
And they move their head. They're very slick, Mexican style, come forward too. They could do it all. So I don't think Valdez is going to do anything that Shakur isn't ready for. I just think maybe the moment could possibly get too big for him. He's only had one championship fight, and that was against the guy he fought last, and Jamel Herring. So maybe the youth can make him have a bad night. So, but
yeah, we'll find out though. Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, might be a fun fight. We'll find out. But yeah, it should be good. I'll look at some of these comments, see if anyone said anything. Glenn, Shakur, easy. Yeah, I'm with you there, brother. Tino the Great, Shakur should win, but his chin hasn't been tested. True, I can't. From all the fights I've watched, I can't actually even think of a fight where he has been like clipped like well. So maybe he'll get hit once and he'll go over. You never know.
Mm-hmm.
Drummers again. Two things. Shakur is a gift fighter, no question. Stevenson's defense is the best in his division, but Stevenson is a very psychologically questionable under pressure. Valdez rock solid mentally. All right, okay. I don't know. I always thought Stevenson was quite psychologically strong from his interviews and stuff, but maybe I've not seen something you have.
I think he means more like there's still a question mark whether or not he can take pressure from a really like solid fighter like Valdez who's gonna put his hands together. Like we don't know yet. You know, because Jamel Herring, they were friends. They tried to pretend like there was a rivalry, but Jamel Herring is very straight up. You know what you're getting.
Yeah.
I know Herring beat Frampton, but Frampton was well past the 126-pound Frampton. So
that's true.
But Shakur is going to kill him. I hate saying that. I hate to ruin the combo, but
what's Tino saying again?
Yeah.
Not going to win, but definitely has a puncher's chance.
For sure. He knocked out Burchell.
Yeah, like he's got the power. He definitely has power. It's not like he can't punch and hasn't knocked guys out before. And you know, he has a good puncher's chance, but Shakur has more, in my opinion. Drummers on again. Not sorry, but Valdez is meant to. Shakur is not. Okay, fair. If that's what you think, man, that's cool. I think, like, personally, I'd say Shakur is just from watching him and
super chill.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe I've missed something. I've like an interview or something there. Well, there is that obviously the famous after he lost in the Olympics.
Oh yeah.
He starts like cry like come on, he was like only like 18 or something, or he was a kid, man. So maybe back then he was maybe a little bit mentally fragile, but come on, he's like a winner. He was so gutted he lost. All right. If you guys, whoever's left, just comment below. If you've got any questions, we've got one more fight to look at, and then we'll answer any questions at the end about any of the fights we've discussed. So yeah, just comment in the chat, and we'll go over whatever if you feel like we've missed something. So the final fight, which is the same night, is Taylor versus Serrano. So I was excited about this one because I know Josh is going for probably, and I'm going for Katie Taylor, and I'm sure Josh, you're going for Serrano. Yeah.
I mean, here's my take on the whole situation. Right? If you're gonna ask me who's gonna win in a 2-minute round fight, 10 rounds, you got to go Katie Taylor, 100%. I think Katie Taylor, her style is catered for women's boxing with the 2-minute format. She's very herky-jerky, punches a lot, and then likes to tie up and can move. But I think Serrano, if there were 3 minutes, she could break her down, go to the body, use her power, and in my opinion, just kind of break Katie down more. I think she can win if it was 3 minutes. But I'm rooting for Serrano, but I think Katie Taylor is actually going to pull it off.
All right. Wow. I was not expecting that. I thought you were going to go for Serrano.
Yeah, because the thing with Katie Taylor, every time she's been in trouble, right? It was with Delphine Persoon, who was breaking her down, walking her down. And Katie Taylor survived. If the fight was a little longer, I think she gets taken out. But 2-minute rounds, it forces you to throw a lot of punches. It doesn't allow you to really develop into the fight. Like, you can't give away the first 2-3 rounds. You're almost down what? Like, you have to win the rest almost to kind of make it a close fight. If you give the first 3 away, your opponent gets 2, there's a draw. So like, there's not a lot of time to kind of develop. And I feel like with Serrano, her body work, you need time for that to take dividend, like pay dividends. You know, it's in that 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th that those body shots take a toll. And, you know, Katie Taylor just is going to hold on the inside. But she's also much bigger than Serrano, too. So I think she could bully Serrano at certain points as well.
All right. See, I always thought it'd be the opposite. I thought more Katie Taylor fighting on the outside, waiting to counter Serrano coming in, and Serrano really trying to push the fight. But I guess, like you said, it's like these 2-minute rounds in women's boxing. It's like it really like ruins the momentum. You'll know better than me because I know you. Do you not coach a few? You coach?
Yeah, I coach a few women, and the 2-minute rounds which is weird because everyone spars like 3-minute rounds.
Yeah.
And then when you have 2-minute rounds, before you know it, half the round is done. And it almost makes it where people get frantic. So their form kind of loses its like prettiness, and everyone's snap on the punches kind of loses its integrity. I just hate 2-minute rounds personally. But Katie Taylor likes to throw those shoe shine punches, and I think she could survive a 10-round fight with 2-minute rounds.
Yeah, no, I think that's what I'm kind of expecting as well. I'm expecting like it to go the full. Is it 10 rounds? Yeah, it is 10 rounds. Yeah. I'm kind of expecting it to go the full 10 rounds. I think obviously it'll be huge. Like, I think because it is such a massive fight, you know, all the boxing media will be there. Do you think the Oscar Valdez Stevenson fight will kind of shadow it, or do you think it will be the other way around? You know, what are people going to be interested on the net? I think it's two. Obviously, one's East Coast and West Coast. So you will be able to watch both, I'm sure. Yeah,
for sure. Is Katie Taylor and Serrano pay-per-view, or is it on DAZN?
It's on DAZN. Yeah.
Okay.
I can't see it being pay-per-view, even on.
But the Valdez and Shakur is ESPN Plus or pay-per-view?
That's a good question. I don't actually know. Need to check that. But I guess if Shakur, Stevenson, and Valdez is pay-per-view, surely more people will maybe just tune in for the Serrano-Katie Taylor fight instead and paying the pay-per-view.
Yeah,
but if it's on ESPN Plus, you'll be able to watch it. In the UK, it'll be on
ESPN Plus, so it's
okay.
I think people will watch both.
Yeah, that's a smart move from ESPN then. In the UK, it will be Sky Sports for the Valdez Stevenson, and then obviously DAZN for Katie Taylor Serrano. But then the issue with the UK is obviously it's in New York, so it's like obviously all the Irish will stay up for it, no doubt. You know, she's huge over there. But yeah, it's like in terms of the numbers, you don't know how it's going to do. But I'm sure they'll both tune into it, won't they? But I'm not going to lie, I'm looking forward more to the Oscar Valdez and Stevenson fight more than that. But yeah, it should be a good fight. No, I think regardless, I think it's good for women's boxing. I think it's just getting bigger and bigger for women, and it needed a fight like this, didn't it? And two big stars. You know, fair play to both ladies. You know, go into this, and I hope they make a lot of money, and whoever wins, I'm sure, they'll respect each other at the end. And you never know, if it's a really good fight, they might get a second one. So they need to, make the most of the opportunity, as they say. So yeah, that kind of wraps up this live stream. But guys, if you got any other questions about it, I'll have a quick look through the comments. And if you've got any questions about any of the other fights, just comment below. Just have a quick look just to see if I missed anyone. I missed this one. What's up? Just watched Ugas Spence 24/7 by Sly Tendencies 87. I've not watched it yet. Need to. Have you seen it, Josh?
Yeah.
Is it good?
It's pretty good, and that's where I was talking about, where like you can really tell Errol Spence is slurring a lot. Like, I don't know if it's because he's always had the Texas kind of Southern draw, but I feel like I don't know if there's something wrong with his jaw, or I'm not sure. But
yeah, and his slurring is really bad now. I hope he's okay, but we'll find out soon, won't we? John, hi Jamie, and everyone here. Hope all is well. Same to you, man. Thanks for joining the stream. Appreciate it, dude. Seen these guys, and just seeing if Michael, that's one of my mates. That's my nickname, Twiggy.
Nice.
Keep it coming. Thanks, man. Tino, I missed this one from you, man. Jared Anderson, Michael Hunter reportedly dropped Fury in sparring. All right.
I mean, Jared Anderson is good.
Yeah. Jared's a big guy. Like, could be the next great heavyweight from the United States. Definitely has the potential.
And Tyson Fury gets up every time. So
yeah. There was actually one thing I wanted to ask you, Josh. Did you see Jarrell Miller is training with Fury? And obviously he's in the New York circuit. Do you know anything about him and how people kind of feel about him now there?
Well, I feel a lot of people hate him, especially with like what he did and how he took all the doping. I mean, they thought he cheated, and then when they did the second B sample, I guess the masking agent went away. It was bad.
Pretty bad, yeah.
But yeah, people really don't think he's relevant. I'm sure he could make a career for himself. He's a name to put on a heavyweight's resume, but I've never really been a big fan of Big Baby Miller. So
yeah, it'll be interesting to see if he comes back. But yeah, I think he'll always be the villain now, won't he? Whoever he fights. Who else have we got? Got Matthew. Hey brother, have a great podcast. I'm going to check it out when I get home. Yeah, sure do, man. Hope you enjoy it. Who else have we got? We got some Tino again. Sorry, man, I missed these. Serrano has great placement and timing. Katie won't want to trade too often. Yeah, true. I think Katie's always a bit like that, though. She's always preferred fighting on the outside. But yeah, you never know. Serrano might be able to just clip her with one. I can't see a knockout happening, but yeah, you never know. I've got Tino again. Serrano versus Taylor, Shields versus Marshall should have been on the same card.
That would have been great.
Yeah. That's another huge fight I want to see, especially after Marshall's knockout of the weekend. That's a crazy fight. Like, what do you think about that one, Josh?
It is, but I feel like Shields is going to win, just like she did with Hammer, and there's always somebody that's going to beat Shields, and then Shields dominates. But she did beat her in the Olympics, or whenever it was, when she was younger. So I think you could sell the fight. Maybe she has a better pro style. Savannah Marshall looks good. I'm not going to lie to you. But
yeah, she's dangerous. Like,
you look good when you fight. When you fight subpar competition.
Yeah.
So.
Like, that's my one criticism about women's boxing is, like, obviously there isn't as many top female fighters. so obvious. But then that means you get the bigger fights a lot more often, which is good. But yeah, it's like on their way to win world titles, it just seems a bit of an easier route for most of them. I'm not saying it's easy in any way, but
no, I agree with you. It's not very deep at all.
Yeah.
I mean, look at Ebony Bridges. She just won a title, and how many fights did she lose in a row?
3 or like 2 or 3 or something like that. Yeah.
I'm not trying to, shit on Ebony Bridges, but
yeah, it's not her fault. Yeah, it's like it's just there's not enough like depth in the division, and obviously she's getting promoted by like one of the biggest promoters, and that obviously helps. Yeah. Tino, again, man, you're keeping this stream going. Thanks, man. Spence's dental implant. All right, okay.
Oh, okay.
There you go. And then good stream, dude. From Mike Whyte. He's one of my mates. Thanks for joining, man.
Thank you, buddy.
And I think that is us. I don't think I missed it unless anyone drops one last one in. But I think we're good. But yeah, Josh, thanks so much for coming on, man.
Yeah, sure, no problem. Anytime, bud.
And congrats on the huge news as well.
Yeah,
Josh is going to be a dad. So cheers, man.
Thank you.
And wish you all the best with that. And we'll definitely get you on again. Do this again soon. Obviously, fights just keep coming up. So
yeah, finally, right?
Yeah, no, finally, it took a few months, but we finally got there.
Finally got it.
Finally got there. Thanks to everyone that commented in the chat. If you watch this after the stream ends, comment below and I'll try and get back. And maybe I don't know. I'll try comment back to everyone, but I might do another live stream or whatnot if there's enough comments. But yeah, guys, thanks so much for watching. And as always, I'll see you in the next. Also, sorry, if you want to subscribe to Josh's channel, I've left it in the description below. I should have said that at the start, so hopefully, sorry about that, man.
No worries.
But yeah,
it's
hopefully,
good just to talk boxing again. I haven't done a podcast in forever, so it's good to dust it off and get it back. So
yeah, definitely, man.
Thanks for having me on.
All right, no problem. All right. As always, guys, thanks so much for watching. See you in the next one.